Hi, how's it going, guys? If you're new here, hello, I'm jalunaberry. I'm an editor and a writer. I do videos on all sorts of things, and today's video is going to be a little bit on the different side because, well, actually, I think I've done plenty of videos about my health problems and such, but today is a little different because, well, I usually do random videos, and a lot of them do have to do with medical and mental health issues. Today is a story time video where I'm going to tell you about my personal experience with the mental hospital. Yes, you heard me. I've been to the mental hospital before. Well, to the psychiatric ward of a hospital, rather. It was when I was a kid, mind you. I don't know how adult facilities are compared to the children's ward, but I want to tell you my story about how I ended up there, how it was when I was there, and what happened when I got out. So let's just start, shall we? I can't edit, so I just kind of try to give it a little time for a pause, so to speak. Okay, enough pause. I was 14 or 15, I forget how old I was. I know the year was 2008, so based on that, it was, 2008 was 12 years ago. Wow. So I was 16, pardon me, I was 16. It was May of 2008, I was begging to go to hospital, honestly, for a year. I would ask my dad to bring me, my doctors, but no one would comprehend that I really needed to go to the hospital when I said I did. But I have severe mommy issues, and it was around Mother's Day. I wrote a very detailed message of how I was really depressed. I was feeling a little homicidal towards my mom, who isn't in my life and hasn't been in a very long time. And that feeling made me suicidal because I just felt so horrible about even thinking something like that for a second. Because the idea of hurting someone just hurts me so badly to think about. And I brought my little journal page. It was a blog post, but I never actually posted it. I brought it to school with me the next day because I was in a specialty school, you have to understand. I was in a school for kids with psychiatric disabilities. And so we had therapists on site, we had psychiatrists on site. The psychiatrist was the issue because I went to an outside psychiatrist for a couple of years, and he put me on medication that I shouldn't have been on at the time. I'm actually on it again now, but I can be because I don't have a heart condition anymore. Abilify, if you are on it and you have a heart condition, if you notice you're having anxiety attacks more often, it could be because your heart isn't being fluctuated by the Abilify, just so you know. But I was on Abilify with a heart condition, and I tried telling my doctor, hey, I can't take this, I read about it, I can't take this when I have a heart condition, that's why I'm having problems. He said he knows best, and he was going to get me taken away from my father if I didn't take the meds. That's the kind of psychiatrist I had. Then I started going to schools with psychiatrists, but I was out sick a lot, and they would change the psychiatrist like every 3 months. So the psychiatrist never really felt like he or she had time to get to know me, to know my issues, and to know my medication and how it affects me. So they never would take me off it. So fast forward 2 years later, I'm 16 years old. I'm in a school for mental health, struggling children, in high school, obviously. It was a combined middle school and high school, though. That I should know. But I show this letter I wrote to my therapist. The first thing she does is call the ambulance, because it was pretty obvious how bad I was, and honestly, I was a little relieved that she finally did this. I think I partially wrote it and shared it with her so that they would finally send me to the hospital, because I had been asking to go for years because I knew the hospital would take me off the medication that was driving me crazy. First thing that happened was they looked at my medical history. They had me go in. They didn't, in the end, admit me for 10 days to the children's ward. But the first thing they did was look at my meds, look at my medical history, and say, hey, you're on a Abilify, but you have a WPW. You can't be on that. So they had to change that medication, which was to sort of regulate my mood, because I have schizoaffective bipolar version. Though at the time, people just thought I was bipolar. No one really understood my psychosis. And, yeah, so the first thing they did was take me off it. But I was still there for 10 days, and that's what I want to tell you about. See, there's a lot of stigma about mental hospitals and about psychiatric wards at hospitals. People tend to have a stigma about mental health in general, and I think we need to fix that. And that's part of why I'm telling you this story. I went there, most of the people seemed pretty normal. I expected a lot more craziness than there was. Sure, there was a person who ate paper. There was a kid who needed to get injections every so often because he was just way too hyperactive and no one could calm him down for their lives. But most of the people were very calm. They were very understanding. Everyone tried to help each other. We would play games. We were allowed to play Scrabble. We were allowed to play all sorts of things with the people, the nurses on staff and stuff. They always tried to make us feel at home. They would make jokes with us. We had one nurse who was very fuzzy, so everyone called him Mufasa. We would watch TV together. We would play games, as I said. We were allowed to do various things in general. We had various types of therapy. We had art therapy. We had simple talk therapy, group therapy. There was a lot of different kinds of therapy. We had food delivered to us from the cafeteria, because we had a point system. And if you got enough points throughout the day, it would add up for a couple days and you would get certain privileges like eating at the cafeteria, which I got for my last day. But it was just, the people were amazing. They really paid attention to what a child needed, to what was best for the child without making the child lose their mind. They actually talked to us about our meds and would explain things about our meds to us if we asked about it. They made sure we took our medication regularly, which is probably the one thing that they show in movies that's actually true. They do have a nurse at a desk with all the meds, and they hand out the meds. Make sure you take them. They literally will check under your tongue. But it wasn't that bad. We could get visits after a while with our families if we so wanted. We got to go outside once in a while, once we had the right clearance, because there was also a clearance level, so to speak. And when you first entered, you were always on watch, so you had to always be within the eyesight of a doctor or nurse or someone who worked there at the point. But once you were out of that and they trusted you enough, they would let you go outside and take a walk. There was a basketball court attached to the children's ward. We couldn't play the basketball for some reason, but we were allowed to walk out there and just walk around, and it felt really good to get some sunlight, I've got to say. I made friends there. I didn't really get to keep up with them because we didn't really share our private information, but I made friends there. I shared my poetry with people because I was allowed to write in a notebook and stuff. They do take away things if they worry about you. Like, one person literally couldn't be allowed to hold a pencil because she would try to jab it into her vein. But all in all, it was actually not that bad of an experience. I mean, I got out of there in 10 days and I felt like a new person because I was on medication that was safe for me. I had been talking with the therapist, so I was able to work out some of my issues while I was there. It honestly wasn't that bad at all. It was really good for me. The thing you have to know, though, is people don't just go from the hospital straight back to school when you're in the children's ward. You go to what's called a partial hospital, which is basically a daycare program, almost. It's similar to an adult daycare. I've been to those, that's how I know. We had group therapy a lot. We got schoolwork done. We actually had to get our schoolwork done. We had various activities. We would watch movies sometimes. We all ate together. We all would do crafts together sometimes. And you got to know people really well. Again, we weren't really allowed to share our private information, but when we were leaving, we were allowed. And I actually shared my information with someone there. And when I had a panic attack, I called them after we were both out. You have to stay in that program for a few weeks. It's not every day, if I recall it. I don't remember exactly how often it was. I think it might have been every day. But it was just the people there. I had an issue with one of the therapists who couldn't handle my constantly correcting everything that I saw when it came to typos. Even though she knew I had that issue, she lost her mind at one point from it. But overall, the staff was very kind. They helped me try to work out my medication for my medical and mental health, to try to combine the medication if it was possible. For example, we tried Topamax, which unfortunately didn't work for me because it made me lose my memory. But it was meant to help me with my migraines and my mood. That was something they tried. It worked for a while, but then it didn't work very well, so they tried to up it, and then I had problems. It happens. But overall, I had a good experience. I learned, I grew as a person, and when I got back to school, I was over the moon to see my friends again, and my friend actually hugged me, and he never hugs anyone because he had an issue with being touched. So it was really shocking to me and to actually the entire school, pretty much, because my specialty school was like 40 people. So at lunch, a lot of us were in the same room, pretty much. But that's basically all I have to say about it, really. I mean, my strongest memories from that time are playing Scrabble, art therapy, writing poems for someone. It wasn't really that... Wow, my hair is a mess in the back. Good job, me. But that's really all there is to it. It wasn't that scary like they make it seem in the movies. I mean, I've seen one or two movies where they make it more funny, and those were actually closer to the truth, but it still doesn't do it justice at all. Because for all the funny things that happen, for all the terrifying things of watching someone get an injection in their butt, it isn't something that you just do. You do it because you need it. You do it because you need help, and that's sometimes the best way to get the help you need. So next time someone says they've been to the mental ward, don't just assume they're crazy. Don't make assumptions that it was a car wreck of a time, because for a lot of people it's necessary, and that's okay. Tell me in the comments if you've been to the mental hospital before, or to the psychiatric ward. I won't judge you. I want to hear more about your experiences, because I think if we all share our experiences, the stigma will go down. And I think that's really important. The stigma has to stop. The stigma about mental health in general, the stigma about hospitalization if you really need it, it has to stop. Anyway, that's my story for today. Thank you for watching through this entire video. I was about to say episode, I don't know why. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. maybe subscribe. I will be doing hopefully more videos like this in the near future. And until next time, be safe, be happy, and don't forget to smile under that face mask, guys. Take care.